All right, here we go. The party's starting quickly. The party's starting quickly. The party's starting quickly. I don't feel well. I don't know why I feel compelled to repeat myself 3 times. Okay, here you are. I'll wait a minute, as usual. Give it another minute. A lot of people joining quickly. That's exciting. As usual, I will do my very best to prevent the blinding glare coming off my head. Lots of waves. People seem to like that wave thing. The wave emoji. Is it the wave emoji? Whatever the hell you call it. Okay, so what I'm also finding here too is something I haven't noticed before, which is I used to see little floaty hearts of various colors up along the right side of my screen, but apparently there's been some sort of an software update. So now some of them are starting as bubbles. Then when they burst into hearts, which is actually an interesting new thing that I have never noticed before. Apparel Noir. Thank you. Appreciate it. You know, it's nice to hear people say nice things about my work, even though they've never seen my work. Or maybe you have. I don't know where you live, but a lot of people haven't, but they think they have. I think that's a sad state of the world we live in, which has actually nothing to do with the pandemic and everything to do with just thinking you're seeing things on a screen. Okay, I'll wait a few more seconds, and then I will start because people are flooding in quickly. It's like I feel like I should. I'm wondering I'm wondering what a good number is on the ticker when you get up to a certain number. Okay. Cool. I think I'm ready. Are you ready? Is everyone ready? Say ready. Everyone's just doing the wave thing. Okay. I don't have. I've been really busy this week, to be honest with you, and I really haven't had a lot of time to prepare something big for y'all. You know, I get on here and I'm trying to help, and but I haven't had a lot of time this week. It's just been a really busy week. I had to reshoot some paintings. I had the photographer socially distanced over here, and nonstop phone calls and trying to get work done in the studio, and the list goes on. So I haven't had a lot of time to. I didn't have a lot of time to work on something this week, but I do have a few quick thoughts, and then I will take questions like I've done before. But before I do that, I want to say almost all of the previous videos that I've done every Wednesday at the same time, which I post about, not all of them, but almost all of them are on. I've posted them on my website. So if you go to howardssherman.com and you click on live from the studio, and you click on live from the studio, you will be able to watch those videos there. So I suggest you do that. I think I've provided everyone with some valuable information that'll be helpful to you. So I've also mentioned that in previous posts, previous videos, I've also mentioned that I do these individual critiques with people, which you can email me for information on that. But what I want to talk to you about today is a little bit related to that. So off and on, I've taken on a few students, and one of the things I've noticed with some of them, not all of them, but with some of them, but also something I've noticed in some of the people who are on here, just based on clicking around and looking looking at thumbnails of their stuff, or even the way that they talk, is that there's a lot of people that they never really learned how to draw. And I want to talk about that for a minute today. I don't know how you can make it forward making paintings and drawings without really learning how to draw. There's certainly movements there that have come and gone that circumvent it. But one of the things I think that happens, one of the things I think that happens when you're in the process of learning how to draw is you're not just learning how to see, but you're also building a vocabulary. You're building a vocabulary through quite frankly through action. You're building a vocabulary through action, and by building that vocabulary, it's going to help you to learn how to talk about your work even better, or it's going to even just help you learn how to talk about your work. Period. There's just no way around it, and I think that. I think one of the things that concerns me about that too is I just see a lot of people out there like who've picked up this thing or that thing but never really learned how to draw, and they're actually out there marketing and trying to sell their work. In some cases they've had a little bit of success with it, but you're doing yourself you're think about the people that you're selling the work to as well. I mean, do they have a clue? Is that important to you? Maybe it's not, but nonetheless, I think that there's no substitute for this. Now, I understand that there's a lot of people out there, and by the way, I mean, I've noticed this with mostly self-taught students who've approached me, but I actually have seen it in people with a BFA and an MFA. And in one or two instances, they just didn't go to a program where that was the focus at all. But I know what I'm telling you might sound it might sound a little bit old-fashioned or stodgy, but I think that now more than ever, it's an important topic to bring up, because we're going to come to a point where other elements of the art world will change, and what will be left is your work. You know, it starts and it ends with the work. It starts and it ends with the work. And if it's going to start and end with the work, you got to be able to understand how to draw what you see and not what you think you see. And so, having said that, I understand that not all of you are in a position to go off to a BFA program and then an MFA program or anything like that, but there's all kinds of ways to learn, and you can do it online. Ideally, you're doing it after the pandemic. You're taking a drawing class in a local environment. You know, go to a local art league of sorts or community center, and you'll have a peer group to work with and people who can look over your shoulder and literally see what you're doing in real time. There's no substitute for that. But in the meantime, there's all kinds of ways to learn while you're in a pandemic, quarantined or whatever. I think that I think that almost any good advice of any kinds regarding drawing is going to involve learning how to draw what you see and not what you think you see. You can be sitting in a chair. I mean, I remember that How to Be an Artist book by Saltz. He mentions like sitting on the subway or sitting in a chair and just filling up a whole page of drawing your hand, looking in a mirror and drawing your cheek where your cheek meets your mouth, looking at the coffee mug on the table across from you. You just start drawing what you see and not what you think you see. That's the most bare bones way I can say it. I could go into a lot more detail about this topic, and you will need it. But for now, that's just the number one place to start. I can't recommend it enough. Go literally, sounds cliche, but literally go back to the drawing board. And for more advanced people, when you get stuck, the same thing applies. Now, I'm no master draftsman by any means, but I have taught a lot of drawing, and drawing is a big part of my studio practice. I think it's pretty evident in all of my work that you see that. And that's really the biggest point for today is, if you don't really, if there's recurring compositional issues in your work and you're and you're getting feedback and you're hearing the same thing over and over again, maybe that's something you need to go back and work on. There are people who never really learned the fundamentals to begin with, but that's the thing that's going to save you in the end, not anything else. If you want to, express yourself visually, and that's how you're gonna build your vocabulary, and that's how you're gonna learn how to see. So that's kind of the main thing. The other part of this that I just wanted to bring up, and I've brought this up before, but I haven't driven it home. I mean, get out there and look. And I think that even in pandemic times, it seems like there's a lot of museums and galleries that still seem to be safely open. And if that feels safe to you, get out and look. There's no substitute for looking. And if you get out and look with people who know more than you, who are willing to explain things to you, that's even better. But first and foremost, get out and look. And make sure you document what you see and think about your thoughts. And maybe draw from what you see. Drawing again from what you see, I just mentioned that already. But make sure you get out and look. There's no substitute for that. There's places in the United States that are under code red right now, but even some of the museums are open and being very safe. So I'm not telling anyone to do anything that they don't feel safe or comfortable doing, but let's pretend for a minute there's no pandemic. Get out and look. Most people don't want to get off their ass and go do anything. So you need to get out and look, and you need to think about what you're seeing and think about what you're looking at. And talk about it and write about it and most importantly, draw about it. That's kind of my main thing for today, which sure enough took me to about the halfway mark of where I want to go. And now, take some questions. Send me some good questions, and I'll be happy to answer them. I know that this will take, this might take a minute or two to populate the feed with these. I've now officially gotten the hang of this whole deal. We need a minute for the questions to come in. This is usually the part that gets the most interesting, because I get, it triggers all kinds of thoughts. Oh, that felt good. Okay. Let me look here. What do we got? Yet again, a couple of questions that would be hard to answer. I have to skip. Heidi_Hawaii_bags. How is art situation in U.S. right now? Exhibitions and vermissage are happening. I don't know what vermissage means. It's a cool looking word. Heidi, what does vermissage mean? How about you define that and then get back to me? I think things are fucked all over the United States. Code reds. I think a lot of institutions and businesses, art-centric businesses, are open by appointment only. Or they're staggering. They're open. A lot of them are open, but you can only go a few people at a time, and you're wearing a mask. I don't know what's going to happen here. I am in the United States, obviously. It's a mess. Giovanni_Lopez. Any tips on colors? Well, that's a pretty broad question, but Giovanni_Lopez. If you're very much a beginner, you might want to make a color wheel. If you were taking a undergraduate drawing 1 or drawing 2 class, you would be asked to create a color wheel. So that might be something you can actually do off YouTube, but that would be my absolute very first thing. I know that sounds old school and academic, and people are going to laugh, but there's a reason why that exercise is so popular in pedagogy. Would that be the right way to put it? Start out by making a color wheel. Make it. Don't just buy one. Actually make one. That would be really, really good. Assuming that's where you're starting. That's a pretty broad question. I have no idea if I answered it correctly. Heidi_Hawaii_bags, I answered your question already. Margarita boy, give me a good question, dude. Don't use those easy little icons. Oh, look who's back here. Poor Sauce, I remember that name. Poor Sauce, you still committed to a lot of your animation and illustration projects? I don't do a lot of animation and illustration projects, so I never had them to commit to. I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, Darby Madden Gross. How? Okay. How has your approach changed from your first art show to your latest in terms of the work you show and how recent your work is for the show? Okay, I'm not sure exactly what you mean, but I think I'm going to try and understand what you just said. How's my work changed? I don't know. My work's changed a lot over the years, but that doesn't necessarily have a lot to do with an exhibition. It's just sort of the thing that happened while I'm working. And I don't know why I picked this question, but I did. But I'm going to try and answer this very convoluted statement. I think that the more you exhibit, I think that as you exhibit more and more in quote unquote professional spaces, white cubes, whatever you want to call them, you get a better sense of how work should be installed. And actually, in my case, I've learned a lot from watching other people install my work and talk about how they install my work. Hope that helped. A lot of broken English that I'm just going to skip over because it's going to take too long to sort of figure it out. And half questions in broken English. That's a good title for a painting. Half questions in broken English. Nicolas Perez, lengthy discussion. I can't really even get into all that or even share back and forth with you regarding that in this format. So that would require more of a discussion. It looks like you got more questions. Poor Sauce, no. Cartooning. Nicholas Appendice, you send me an email. You've got like all these questions and they seem very specific. I can't handle all that in this format. Sorry. Send me an email. Margarita boy. Okay. Thank you. Good one. What are your thoughts on use of hard-edged abstraction along with your use of gestural marks? Okay, so I'm going to talk about me for a minute, but I think it's going to help you. Okay, so I have no one really talks about this, but I've had a long-standing interest in hard-edged geometric abstraction, and I incorporate that very much into my paintings. People don't really, it's important to me in my paintings. It's actually very important to me in my paintings, and I've incorporated it indirectly in the work, but it's also one of those things that people don't really want to pay attention to. They want to pay attention to the easiest thing, especially when they can't see the work in person and they're looking at the work on their phone and assuming they understand the work by looking at it on their phone and making all kinds of very incorrect comments about it. But for a very, very, very long time, I've liked the bipolar, maybe bipolar or duality that happens between hard-edged geometric abstraction and gestural, more spontaneous mark making. And I like the way those two chafe because they shouldn't work together. And I I bust my ass to get them to work together, and that's the trick, right? And that doesn't necessarily, that's not exclusively me exemplifying my affinity for two specific types of mark making or art history. It's me trying to rectify a relationship between two types of psychological impulses. I hope that made sense. I think that made sense. I'm essentially what I just said was I use both types of things and they're both very different and I use them for a multitude of reasons. Right? I hope that made sense. And I think there's something in what I just said that all of you can take for yourselves, right? So it means that, I guess, let's unpack that a little bit more. Human beings are complicated and complex. Most humans like more than one thing. So maybe there's a way for you, as you're drawing your sketchbook, to think about that idea and how you can fuse multiple things that you're interested in and incorporate those things into your work in a way that feels resolved. Boom. I think that I really just gave y'all something good there to work with. Okay, poor sauce. How is cartooning to you a good drawing, learning to see process? Okay, well, I think let's just forget about cartooning and let's talk about, cartoon is actually a big word. It's a word with multiple meanings. When you think of cartoons, you might be thinking of cartoons you see on TV, animated cartoons or comic strips or comic books. But it's actually an art term as well, used historically. But the fact of the matter is, don't get hung up on the word cartoon. Get hung up on the word drawing. And I think whether you're making quote unquote cartoons, or any other kind of drawing, the important thing is to make it convincing. And you make it convincing and resolved when you draw what you see and not what you just think you see. At least that's where you start, and then you springboard from there, Let's go another direction with that poor sauce. Go look at a lot of really good Cy Twomblys, okay? The good ones, because he made a lot of bad ones too, but the good ones. And you'll see that he had that he understood drawing. He understood how to use drawing too. He may not have been a master draftsman, but he made really interesting art through mark making, and he had a formal understanding of composition and color and rhythm. And that might be anything else. Poor sauce. I like the word convincing. Thanks. I think things need to be convincing and they need to be resolved. There's no shortcuts, there's no shortcuts. Everyone wants a shortcut. No one wants to put in the hard work, There's no shortcuts. You got to work. And you work through, the work gets done in the beginning and in the middle and the end through understanding drawing. A lot of people will skip that over. There'll be a lot of blah, blah, blahs and yahs that have nothing to do with that. But when all that's gone away and what's left is the work, you'll know what I'm talking about. We might be reaching that moment. Anyone else? Okay. I will wait another 30 seconds and see if we get one more really great question. And if we don't, we don't. I'm getting a few comments. I'm getting one or two y'all who want to email me personally. That's great. Blah, blah, great. Greetings from Europe. Greetings from Poland. Hey, cool. Okay. Well, is that it? That's it. I think that's it. Stop in at the website. Look at the other videos if you want. Tell your friends about the work. And I am going to sign off. Okay. Thank you. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.